right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 308. All right, once again, there's no updates on any of these items, other than I published a shorts video today. So we'll just move on to working on the terminal block mining simulation game. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that had a deadlock. Let's make sure the game still works. So yesterday, I took some steps toward setting up and setting up an independent unit test for the in-memory chunks class. So that's the class that is responsible for loading and unloading chunks. That needs some updates to make it work for multi-client worlds. Okay, game still works. Let's see. Yeah, I think that this had a deadlock. Yes. So I think where I left off was I was thinking about making some updates to how threads terminate, which is something I've wanted to do for a while. And that would allow me to close off the unit test by sending a message into the in-memory chunks thread telling it to shut down. So this is more crazy than it needs to be. I think if I fix this, I could get rid of this like not is an interrupted thing here. Sneaky Drummer says, "Hi, how's it going? I see a man of utmost focus, looking at what is probably a stupid problem. I guess the thing I'm working on right now is trying to get. I'm gonna make a work item so you can instruct a thread to shut down gracefully." I guess I can do All right, I think that's compiling. That's good. Hey, says, what are you working on? Currently, I'm working on some unit tests in my terminal-based video game. I have some code for loading areas of the map, loading and unloading areas of the map, and I need to make some changes to generalize that code. So first I'm writing some unit tests, which I technically should have done before, but in the thing I'm doing this very moment is trying to make it so I can gracefully shut down that thread so I can unit test it properly. you done hardware development for? Yes, a bit. I took a bunch of embedded systems courses in university, but those were like much more theoretical than I realized at the time. And then I actually ended up teaching some embedded systems courses at a local college for a couple of years. And so that really forced me to ramp up my understanding of stuff to stay ahead of the students. But that was actually a very good learning experience for me. Actually getting like a lot of the hands-on practical knowledge of debugging we just did like there's actually another professor there who's really on top of things, and he had a lot of work. What about Verilog? No, I've never done any Verilog. Verilog. Hardware development. I guess I interpret that to mean like software development on hardware, but in terms of actual like design of the hardware, I sponsored a couple capstone projects at the college. Like I taught software to students, and some of these students were in very hardware focused programs. So a few of the students did like very hardware focused courses, and I ended up sponsoring some capstone projects that they did, because a lot of the sponsors were like really terrible and wouldn't respond to them. So I'm like, I can at least propose a project. So that I played around with KiCad a little bit, but I didn't come anywhere close to like really knowing what I was doing. But I would say in terms of like hardware knowledge, I know enough to be dangerous, but not much more than that. And then in software, I know a decent amount of. I have enough background that I could kind of jump into probably any kind of firmware development project. 1-4 says, howdy. How's it going? I mean, you had to meet up. You had UW Winter 2025. Oh, okay. Was that the first one I did when there was 20 people or so? Yeah, I went to the. I didn't like announce it or anything, but I was kind of hoping that if I put out that initial video, that would give enough momentum, or like someone, like if people actually cared, someone would repost it to the UWaterloo subreddit. But the last one, I went there. What was it, a week ago or so? And nobody showed up. So I guess it really is the loneliest university. I guess I can't recognize you from your username. What did we talk about at the meetup? Would have came if you knew. Yeah, I guess I could have tried to advertise it. My hope was more to, just start like some kind of tradition or something to get the ball rolling on its own. So I'm sure there's got to be enough people at Waterloo. If there's so many people posting on the subreddit, that's all you need is someone to be like, hey, I'm the person to go. I guess I could maybe I could like pay someone to go or something. Get them to put a mask on with my face on it or something. Pretend to be. Asked about NVIDIA experience. Don't remember anything else in particular. Yeah, I don't. I guess it's not enough for me to disambiguate. Were you a student at UW? I forget. There was a couple of people who were there who are off campus. Your student? I think with you to get shawarma. Okay, there was someone who asked me for a photo. I think we went to get a shawarma and then took a photo. What a shawarma is? What's a shawarma? It's like a wrap with some meat and I guess kind of like a burrito. Didn't get a photo? Okay. I guess my memory's not that good. I remember going. There's several people I went with to get the shawarma, and then someone there asked for a photo. But there's I think 3 or 4 of us. About 3 other people? Yeah, I don't. There's also there's a few people there who came who I had hoped to like get around to talk to, but they left I think before I got around to them. Okay, excellent. That worked exactly the way I wanted it to. Right, excellent. That is not broken anything. Okay, now I can actually start. I have the control flow working for this, which is kind of crazy, but it's starting up a separate thread, so So what's new on the University of Waterloo campus these days? It's been a while since I did a walk around campus. I guess when I was there last, the construction fences were not there. That were there last year. Building a new math building. They're always building a new math building. Or I guess when I was there, they built one or two new math buildings. I think when I was there, the newest one was M3, and they were on like engineering 6. And I guess the nanotechnology center, that was under construction forever. It took forever on the foundation for that place. Not on campus much now. On co-op. Nice, you get to get money. Still in Waterloo. Well, it's good you got a co-op. From what I checked it. I haven't gone on the subreddit that much lately, but I do see people complaining there a lot about the job market. I guess hopefully it's not that abysmal. I mean, but when I was in undergrad, it was pretty much like unheard of for people to not get a job if they were in like software engineering or CS. But I guess now it's, I don't know, 70 or 80% or something. Tougher now for sure. What are the kind of switch past the hardware? Feel like there's less competition. Yeah, I think my prediction for there's a bunch of people, like I constantly see these people, like AI people who are like, we're on the crazy part of the exponential. AI is going to replace everything, but there's never been more chaos and more work to do in society ever. And the more I think about it, the more I think if you had like suddenly, if I suddenly had an AI agent that was infinitely powerful, and it could do it, like it was capable of doing or calculating anything, and I ask it like, tell me what I should do with my time or money, like how do I put myself ahead, it would probably say, okay, you should buy this robot or 3D printer, or you should like invest in this thing, or like here's what I recommend you do in the real world, and that'll require actually like spending money, or like the first thing it might do for me is like order a robot on Amazon to do stuff in the physical world, because we live in the physical world, and that's like if the AI can't do stuff in the physical world for us, then that makes it totally useless. So, but if it does that, So step one is like it orders some parts off the internet. So first off, you need the money, and you also need to spend the time, and the resource has to be like built and procured in the world. So even if we do end up with like runaway super intelligent AI, what's going to slow it down is the capital allocation. And like we can have really fast, you can create like lots of slop AI created web pages and stuff, but nobody cares about that. What you want is materials and stuff like hardware. I think that's probably going to be there's a lot of stagnation in hardware for the last, I don't know, since like the 1960s. So there's probably going to be a ton of capital that's going to flow into making all these AI data centers more power efficient. Because like right now we have trillions of dollars. It's probably something like that, $1 trillion going into AI. So the first thing you do is they set up all these data centers, and then they look at the cost structure of it, and they're like, wow, we can't afford to keep running this. This absolutely has to be the number one cost is power and efficiency. So then the second thing they're going to say is, how do we redesign all this stuff to be more efficient, get better heating and cooling? So that probably will be, there will probably be unprecedented amounts of investment in, tradespeople, electricians, but also like the engineering design of that stuff. A lot of hardware development feels very similar to software. Don't get more CS. Majors do it. Don't do it. More job security. When I was in my day, so that might be the change from when I was there. Like there were hardware people. Actually, a friend of mine was in computer hardware, and he switched into software engineering because he realized the job prospects were not as good. And from my experience, most people who went into like electrical or computer engineering, they would end up competing with us for the same jobs. And there's a lot of people who went the hardware route, but then they would just get hired as a software engineer and then never use their hardware skills. So it looks like maybe that is changing right now. We've reached the limit of the exponential for like return on investment for software, and now it's basically getting pushed up the stack to like, we need to, the software is incredible as it's ever going to get. So it's going to kind of, the investment's going to ricochet back up to, hardware, and then maybe even like mining and materials and stuff. Because if AI goes crazy and decides to like, kill all humans, it's going to need a lot of copper wire to make that happen. So the first thing it'll have to do is like order 5 million servo motors to complete its world domination plan. You'll have to wait like 6 months for some new mine to open in Chile before it can finish its plan. Shoseki says, evening. How's it going? All right, now I actually have to implement this. Okay, today was last day of my job. Just got laid off. Interesting. Is that a happy layoff, or is that a sudden, earth-shattering awful layoff. Got to keep my work laptop. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good perk. Usually you don't. Usually they want that back, mostly because of the material that's on it. Shibal says, hey, how's it going? Java should have its own built-in AI, so it can just code itself. That would be a good idea. Bro, I don't want to get into the workforce. It's boring for me. Well, you gotta figure out a way to get money. You gotta either build your independent business empire or be rich. You could do that. Just be rich instead. Are you familiar with Nick Land? No, I'm not. It's annoying because I worked really hard to get to a good place. Now it's going to be squandered. Yeah, that's honestly that's I have kind of explained that in length in some of my videos, but it's one of my grievances with the industry, like the idea of climbing the corporate ladder. Like there's some people for that it worked out, but this other people, like it's so our economy is becoming more and more luck based. I've mentioned before how there's like, especially here in Canada, because the way financing works with houses, like there was a story of this woman. She had her job at Microsoft, and she bought this house. It was she paid a bit too much for it, but then when she paid the mortgage, she paid everything on time, had a great job, and then when it came up for renewal, she wasn't able to get the renewal. Or I can't remember if it was that, but also she lost her job around the same time. And so basically she just like wiped out and had to declare bankruptcy. So you go from like kind of being on track and you're growing, you got a house, you're paying the mortgage, and then she lost. So she because it went down in that time, so she lost all the all the equity in the house, and now doesn't have a house or a place to live, and doesn't have a job, which is that's a crazy setback to be in midlife, and a lot of people are having that happen, and you have like no control over that kind of stuff. Philosopher who spoke a lot about the future of AI in the 90s. Seems prophetic. I'll have to Google that name if I remember. I often forget everything. I often forget a lot of the stuff I say I'll do on stream. Heard housing in CA is crashing. Yeah, I assume you mean CA Canada. I think it's crashing everywhere, but particularly up here, because we never had the 08 crash that the US had. We had the same bubble you had in 08, but we just never crashed. So housing has just been going up for like an entire generation, and now like the stats are basically crazy. Like you have to be like in the top 2% of income to buy a house, and but pretty much no one I think in the whole Toronto area there's something like, in terms of like new houses sold, it's like a few hundred or something, because no one can afford anything. There's just not enough juice to squeeze out of people. At the risk of sounding ignorant to this audience, I saw the recent Veritasium video. Now I have an appreciation of what Linux is. That's good. I don't know. I don't think I've seen that video. He does have a lot of good videos, but there's too many good videos. I don't have time to watch them all. It's fun to design giant case file management systems with RBAC, role management, super encrypted file sharing, various levels of secrecy. Feels like you're doing something realish. Giant case file management systems. Interesting. That's a random declaration, but I can't disagree with you. It's interesting. A couple years long to attempt to compromise security was thwarted by a single user who thought the system was running too slow. Oh, was that about the XZ? The compromise of the XZ compression library. I think I saw the title of that. I think I saw the thumbnail of that, and then I was like, oh, I already know about that, so I didn't click on it. That's it? Okay. Yeah, I know the gist of it. Yeah, there's a ton of super important stuff out there that's just run by random open source contributors. It's kind of the same. You can make the same kinds of observations about that famous go to fail security bug in the OpenSSL library. After your last stream, you could use AI to list everything you said you wanted to do in all streams. Yeah, I could. Yeah, it's AI is so interesting. There's so many cool things you could do with it. Then you get laid off. You just want to garden and have chickens. Yeah, I think that seems to be becoming a thing. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are like just burning out of tech and going to live in the forest. Build a house. It'd be neat if that became like a more popular career trajectory. I mean, the existence of like how to do it yourself videos of YouTube, that's just an amazing wealth of knowledge. Like the idea that you could just go live in the woods and look up how to do everything on YouTube. Came here from a video about a CEC controller chip. Is that the Sharp? Oh, is that my video about the Sharp chip, the close-up view of it? I started analyzing all the SAS to see if I could rebuild them using open source. Probably some of them. You can usually use open source, but sometimes it's a bit janky and the design is a bit different. But I guess the benefit of like self-hosting or like using the open source version, the main benefit in my view is it's not the cost, it's the control. It's the fact that like you can just use the same thing over and over again. And you're not going to open it one day and find out that it's like there's some stupid new feature in it that it's not going to have AI in it. And they're like, we're updating our terms of use policy. Now it has to be a cloud thing. funny if you try documenting what an old mobile phone chip does. I do have some old mobile phone chips. It's on my to-do list to give a closer look at them, but I don't. I can't really say much about them other than just kind of Googling a bit, and they probably do quite a few things. It's probably, it'll be a long video if you actually talk about everything. Sadly, you can't live off-grid in the UK because the entire country is just conquered. Every last meter is owned by someone or the state. You need planning permission for everything. Yeah, that's such a bummer. Actually, I was just watching I just watched a video before this that really had me hooked about actually it's a YouTube channel. Actually, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it has tons of videos about like people living in these really interesting exotic places and stuff. And there's this like woman that she just wanted to. She was in like Norway or something. She just built like a kind of old style house in the what is it? It's kind of just like basically like a dirt mound, but it had a really nice interior and stuff, and it was completely made from like free materials, and there was like no money spent on it at all. And it's just a really cozy little place to live in the winter, nice and warm, and it costs basically nothing. And it just makes me think even more, like we're basically scammed into being forced to live in unnecessarily expensive housing against our will, which is I mean, if that keeps up, this kind of like forcing people to live out their life in a way that's so expensive they can't afford it, it's not even sustainable. It's not even capitalistic. It's like it's so parasitic that it's anti-capitalist, because capitalism is about maximum allocation of capital and to achieve like the maximum growth rate. So at some point, if it becomes like if you suck too much money out of people, like you're gonna have huge numbers of people who just become like homeless vagrants, and the populate, like if that's a more successful way to have children and live life and be prosperous and gain wealth, then you'll have more and more. You have like an exponentially growing rate of homeless people, or like vagrants, or like people who just like break the law and build a house anywhere illegally. That'll become the more successful way to live life, and then you'll have like an explosion in that population because it's just a better allocation of capital and time. I think Sean James, the guy from my Self-Reliance channel, he used to be in tech, sold the company, got ripped off, so he went to live in the forest. Yeah, I guess that's the progression, standard progression. Working tech, the tech to living in the forest pipeline. A lot of it sounds pretty fantastical. I think he mostly means it metaphorically. I guess I'm not sure which comment you're referring to by he. Sisperia. How's it going? Open Mako is a cool open hardware software project back in the 2000s. Well, if SAS could be rewritten, at least open source. Eventually we can vibe code everything. My messages keep getting filtered. Interesting. Yeah, that's a common problem. If you're getting censored, it's not because of anything that I am doing. Last time, someone was saying that they were, like, we were just having normal conversations, and they kept saying they were getting, they get censored a few times, and then I think I sneezed or something, or I coughed, and they said "bless you," and then later they said that when they said "bless you," that was getting censored. I think I've commonly seen if you type something, put it in quotes and say that, like, I try to type this, usually I'll see that'll go through. But yeah, doing the live streaming has changed my opinion on on censorship. I realize now that we're a lot more censored than I thought. 100% rentier extraction is not capitalism. Feudalism and capitalist garb. Yeah, I think people talk about capitalism a lot as like a social thing, but I think it's more of like the more general aspect of capitalism. It's like an exponential growth law. And if you try to extract too much from the system, you're gonna harm its growth, and you cannot resist capitalist exponential growth. My message got filtered too. Mention the name of a YouTube channel where they show how bad Yuki Towns are now. Yeah, maybe that's why. It's not clear to me why certain things are getting censored. Like might be there might be some like deep. I don't know. It almost sometimes it seems like the AI is really stupid, but then other times it seems like maybe it's doing some very deep conceptual filtering of things. I just don't know. Open mobile communications. Yeah, mobile communications. Well, the infrastructure is controlled by the telecoms and stuff. It'd be kind of hard to do that open source without you need the towers and stuff. Try type. Land's main point is that capitalism is AI. It's a future intelligence that already exists virtually, reaching back through time to trick us into building it. Interesting, but I guess that requires, it's an interesting idea, but time travel, that's like a science fiction idea though. Not sure I buy it. Treasure type we aren't developing AI. It's effectively installing itself onto our society via the market. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it seems one of the things that seems to get censored a lot is when people talk about the development and capabilities of AI, which is another interesting observation, is that AI is filtering and censoring discussions about AI. Remember, you can select between top messages and all messages. Yeah, that's a good point for the chatters. Although, to be honest, I'm actually interested. I'm very interested in seeing what is being censored. So if you don't see your messages on screen, you're being censored. Maybe it thinks that it's an offensive channel. Yeah, that might be it. Or like there might even be some like prompt that says like, or it could even be like with compliance with like EU regulations and stuff, because a lot of those countries have, like, they impose their, like the GDPR. That's a thing. That's a thing that was the way that like Europe imposes their control over foreign countries. Because like, I'm not in the EU, but I have to see all those GDPR warnings and stuff like that. So there may be some like thing where the UK puts in their they maybe force, like, there's probably some policy where they say that Google is forced to like suppress discussion of like anti-immigration, or like anything like public discontent. You gotta censor that stuff and downrank it. And so it's like doing some deep, intelligent filtering to connect those things. You never know, because AI is capable. AI is 100% capable of doing that now. But whether it is or it's not, because it also censored when someone said "bless you" last night, which is I don't know. I don't know why that of all things would get censored. AI is the make build, make installs. Make installs stage. So annoying endless cookie pop-ups. I have a feeling eventually that'll go away. Like, it's just so annoying that, and I would assume that people probably just do whatever anyway. Like, you're supposed to comply with all these policies, but companies are like, insurance companies and the government is supposed to keep our data safe. They're getting hacked all the time and stuff. So you can't expect like all these random small scale websites to actually keep all this data safe and like remove you from tracking. And UK is even worse. The online safety bill. Yeah, we've got a bunch of they're constantly trying to put, I barely even keep track of it. There's tons of bills and amendments. They're trying to pass a law that allows them to like selectively say that certain corporations don't have to follow the law. Like, it's kind of like a check-all. It's a catch-all law they want to bring into Canada, so that like I think ministers or someone in the government can arbitrarily say that a specific company doesn't have to follow specific laws. But it's not really clear why they want to do this. It's just like, let's just randomly not follow the law sometimes for companies we're friendly with, I guess. PM even flirted with the idea of banning SSH VPNs. The thing is, if they become too draconian, it's going to get like this. So much of this stuff is, I think a lot of the people pushing for this stuff don't realize how important it is for like this stuff is related to real economic activity. Like, there's valid reasons to have SSH. Like, how do you connect to your cloud server? Like, there's legitimate, non-nefarious reasons to have all that kind of stuff. Proxy servers and whatnot. They have clue. They are idiots. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it runs its course. And then we could go to like, wouldn't it be great if the things we argued over were economically productive things, like how to build houses? World domination. That's great. Yep. I'm just hoping to raise $12 billion. And if you want to see the full plan, I got some couple of videos in the description to describe the whole plan. Hoping to raise some super chats and get some new channel members. Okay, that's good. Okay, I gotta think about how to test this. Some respects, it's a fascinating study in inadvertent side effects. Online safety bill only really affected the major adult sites. Small ones don't care. People use VPNs, so it just punished major sites with no upside. Yeah, I guess I'm not really even super aware of the impact. I think some of the the motive for that stuff is actually like to get access to the data and stuff. So the safety aspect is not really even the most important thing. It's like just to have it's a tool to force compliance and force them to behave in a certain way, or remove content, or do what the powers that be say. Otherwise they'll, because in the bill it'll probably say if you disobey it, you get some big $2 billion fine or something. So they don't want that. Right, so accomplished a little bit tonight. I'm gonna have to meditate more on how exactly this should work. I kind of like to have a nice coverage on the cases, so it then I can kind of test every stage of the chunk loading process. I should probably rename some of these methods. If you're a dev, it's really easy to get around. Yeah, I guess they probably don't care too much about the small exceptions, but I think, well, I guess I don't even know 100% what the online safety bill entails, but I don't know, those things never end. It seems like every 6 months there's some new bill that does stuff that people don't want. But I'll probably leave it there for tonight. So tomorrow, I'll actually start to think about adding some real tests. So I guess I'll have a method here. I guess I'll have a method on this, on the mock client, and I'll let it know about what the updated regions are. And that way it'll independently calculate what to expect for chunks that become pending. Yeah, and then I guess I'll just have a method. I'll have a method on this that randomly moves some of the loaded chunks through the sequence of like being pending to loaded, and then to unloaded. All right, that'll be it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night for day 309. All right, have a good night, guys.